Right. Is this recording? Welcome to the Three Brothers Podcast, special edition. We are going to be talking about sports and music. Just for our introduction, we are normally three brothers from the western suburbs of Chicago that talk about sports, but today we're going to combine my second favorite passion, music, with sports, and do a battle of 2000s pop punk bands. Joining me always, my brother Matthew, my brother Kevin, and a special guest from the Big D, Tamu, a.k.a. Big D. How we doing tonight, boys? What we drinking?
Doing well. I got one of my favorite cans of all time, a Fist City from Revolution. Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
I'm going with Bud Select, watching the calories. And again, we need sponsors. So Budweiser, hey, you're the king of beers. And we're the king of the podcast. So,
Tom, what you drinking?
I got some scotch, and I ordered this off the Saucy app, which is kind of like the Uber Eats of booze, without realizing it's like 120 proof scotch. So, hey,
Feel drunk tonight. I got two beers, both local. I got a Revolution Sour, and I got Two Brothers Sour. So it's a nice day here in Chicago. Figure I'd go with a nice summer beer. All right.
Yeah.
So shortly, I am going to try to change my screen to show you a bracket made by someone that goes by Schwartzis. I don't know who this is, but basically he made a 64-team bracket featuring the pop punk bands from the 2000s, and he ranked them from 1 through 16. Let's see, start sharing. Do you guys see my screen?
Hell yes.
Yes, we do.
All right. So what I did is basically used his bracket. I did modified mine just because got pissed off at the seating, but the rest of the seating was the one that he made. We're going to start in the South region without further ado, and each one of us is going to take turns kind of breaking down these brackets. So let's start with my brother Matthew. Our first matchup is going to be a 1-16 matchup between My Chemical Romance, the 1 seed, and the 16 seed, the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Matthew, who you got winning this game?
All right. So My Chemical Romance is going to win by far, but I'll talk more about them in the next round. But in any case, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, I really love the song. What was it? Face Down? That's the one they had, right?
Yes.
Yes. Face Down. Great song. And I did research, and I really wanted to find something else about them, but there's nothing else about them. They had that one song in 2006, and that's it. So, yeah. And My Chemical Romance definitely wins that round. It's a 1-16 for a reason.
All right, Kevin, any thoughts on Red Jumpsuit? Any chance they're getting that upset in your vote?
My vote, I agree with Matthew. MCR takes the first round matchup.
Tom?
same. That's an easy one in my opinion.
Yeah, Red Jumpsuit. They were kind of a newer-ish from the 2000s pop punk scene. They came out in 2003. Their first label was big record label 2016 featured Face Down, which actually has over 184 million listens on Spotify, and is still played currently on Q101. So that's pretty much they're a one-hit wonder. They did have a couple other hits from that CD, Your Guardian Angel and False Pretense, but really no chance against My Chemical Romance. I think it's a clean sweep. Let's move on to our next game. We have AFI against the Academy. This is the 8-9 matchup. Matthew, who you got?
Yeah, it kills me. I gotta take AFI here. The Academy is from the Chicagoland area. You know, they had about a girl. It's somewhat catchy. But in my opinion, this is my opinion, and this is my game to call. AFI is just a little bit better, a little bit bigger, a little bit more punk. So, gentlemen, what do you think?
We'll throw it out to Kevin.
I'm going to disagree with you. If it was in my bracket, I would have thrown the love to the Academy is. So that's both. I mean, it's actually, I will say this, a good matchup. I think two even bands. Two bands I actually like both of them, but I would probably throw some more loyalty to the Chicago band.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm going with Matthew. I chose AFI here. I don't know a whole ton of either of these bands' music, but I know enough to make my choice. That's AFI.
So I thought this is a tough matchup. I'd probably actually side with Kevin. If I had to choose, I'd choose the Academy Is. They're more of a classic pop punk band. AFI is more of a rock band. AFI actually stands for A Fire Inside. They're an older band formed in '91 from Utah. Their big hits that probably most of us remember are Girls Not Gray and Silver and Cold, which came out in 2003. And then their most popular hit on Spotify as of now is Miss Murder from their 2006 album December Underground. And I even heard that on radio to this day. On the side, they have a song Medicaid. I really enjoyed the guitar part in that was in Guitar Hero. The Academy they are a Chicago band. I believe they went to Barrington High School. Their one record is called Fast Times in Barrington High. Actually, the first EP was recorded in Villa Park, which is where our brother Matthew lives.
Hi.
Yeah, out of Carpet. And then that EP was heard by Pete Wentz, Fall Out Boy, who signed them to his record, Fueled by Rom. And their 2005 first studio album featured hits. It was called Almost There, featured Slow Down, The Phrase That Pays Attention. I love that album. Tom, I remember in high school we listened to a lot of Black Mamba that was on that album. Their follow-up album, Santee, featured We Got a Big Hit on Our Hands. And then their last album, 2008, Fast Times to Barrington High, their hit on that was About a Girl, which was more kind of a poppy, catchy song. We're kind of split on this. I think you can't really go wrong with either one, but it's Matthew's bracket, and we're going to go with AFI.
Hell yeah.
Total Immortal is a great song, by the way, by AFI. Big fan.
All right, let's move on to our 5-12 matchup. We got the Alkaline Trio and a band called May that I have not heard of. Matthew, what do you got?
Yeah, I had never heard of May before this, but they're from Norfolk, Virginia. Their lead singer's got a kind of raspy voice, and lead singer of Alkaline Trio, Matt Skiba, he also has kind of a weird voice, but I feel like he made Alkaline Trio for his voice, unlike Blink-182. We'll talk about that later. May is okay, but Alkaline Trio just takes the win here. They just had better songs, better singer. Yeah, just better.
Tom, I know you're a big Alkaline Trio fan.
Very big fan. I love Alkaline Trio. All Blink-182 drama aside, a lot of people are not Matt Skiba fans. A lot of the hardcore Tom DeLonge fans do not like Matt Skiba, but I fucking love Alkaline Trio. I've seen them live many times actually, and they're a solid band, man. Real good. Classic.
Kevin, any disagreement?
Not at all. I agree with both of them. They both, well said. Alkaline Trio, I think, in Atlanta. So I never heard of May. No idea who they are. So
never heard of them.
Yeah, that makes four of us. I did listen to them. I listened to all the bands in this bracket. May stands for Multi-Sensory Aesthetic Experience. Their biggest single is Embers and Envelopes from their 2003 album Destination Beautiful. They kind of got a smooth, easy to listen to sound, but really no chance against Alkaline Trio, in my opinion. Which brings us to the 4-13 matchup. Some bands that I think we've all heard of. Good Charlotte and kind of getting low-seeded here, the Plain White Tees. Matthew, who do you got in this matchup?
Yeah, it killed me, man. I think if I would have reseeded, I would have put Plain White Tees somewhere else. I think that's more of a local thing. I remember listening to Hey There Delilah before it was a big hit. And I remember listening to it, and then 3 years later it was on the radio where, every girl in high school was like, "You heard this song, Hey There Delilah?" It's like, yeah, 3 years ago. It's a great song. I had to pick Good Charlotte here. They just had so much material. They were so popular and so many good hits. And as much as I love Plain White Tees, just their matchup, they got screwed over in the seedings. I'll just say that, So I got to go with Good Charlotte. What do you guys think?
Tom?
I agree. I'm a big Good Charlotte fan. To me, it's one of those classic just high school bands. And this might be an unpopular opinion. I fucking hate Hey There Delilah. I hate that song. It drives me insane. So, Good Charlotte, all the way.
Kevin?
I agree. Kind of taking a little bit from what both the bros just said. Matthew's right. Plain White Tee got screwed in their seating, which I think is part of the fun in this. Sometimes, like it is in the real March Madness, where that band didn't deserve that seating. I'm though with Sharky. I'm not the biggest Plain White Tees fan, and I am a big Good Charlotte fan. And one of the bands that pretty much every year in my high school like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, there's like a Good Charlotte song that I beat to death. It feels like in my CD player. I'm sorry, either in my car in junior, senior year or my mom's Accord when she was driving me to school. So, but yeah, definitely Good Charlotte, I think, in a landslide.
Yeah, very tough matchup for Plain White Tees. Shout out to another local band. They're actually formed in Lombard and Villa Park back in '97, and they were all in high school. Their biggest hit, Hey There Delilah, released in 2005, has 485 million listens on Spotify. I'm also not a huge fan of the song, but you can't really argue with that popularity. It made them a lot of money, and it's a huge hit for them. They had some other hits. Rhythm of Love from 2010 had 64 million views or listens on Spotify. They also had 1, 2, 3, 4 from a 2008 album. And then Hate, I Really Don't Like You. That was probably my favorite Plain White Tees song, and that was from 2006. So, decent band, local guys. We actually saw Matthew when we saw Lucky Boys and Swizzle Tree a couple years ago. The singer from Plain White Tees was doing a sideshow, acoustic show from his new band, Them Crooked Bitches. It was kind of interesting how a songwriter, singer from a huge hit is just at some side stage with like 3 girls around him in a corner. So kind of a little bit of a fall race there. But yeah, I'm going with Good Charlotte, clean sweep on this end. Let's move on to our 6-11. We got the starting line at number 6 going against Hidden in Plain View at number 11.
Yeah, so I mean, this is another one I had not heard of Hidden in Plain View before this, and listened to them, and they're described as post-hardcore, which is just not my thing. To me, when I think about pop punk, it's at least got to be like sort of catchy and fun, and it's a lot more hardcore than I would describe it as pop punk. So didn't really care for their music. I picked the starting line just based upon what I knew beforehand and listening to Hidden in Plain View for a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. Kevin, what do you think?
I'm a big starting line guy. One of my favorite songs is The Best of Me. Pretty much, yeah. I don't know much about Hidden in Plain View, but they're in trouble. Starting line in a landslide. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Not a whole lot of listening time on either band. Never heard of Hidden in Plain View, but starting line. It's my choice.
Yeah, that makes 4 of us. Also, never really heard of Hidden in Plain View. They're from New Jersey, formed in the year 2000. Their most popular song, Bleed For You, very emo, has 2.7 million listens on Spotify. They have this post-hardcore sound. My thoughts were they weren't bad on initial listen, but really they're overseeded. I mean, how are they 11 and Plain White Tees is 13? And they're going to get blown away by the starting line all day, every day. All right. And now 2 bands that I actually both like a lot. Sum 41 coming into the 3 seed in this bracket, going against the Maine at 14.
Yeah, so the Maine out of Tempe, Arizona, they have that pop punk sound that's really catchy, and I liked a lot of the stuff that I listened to, but I mean, Sum 41 is Sum 41, and I gotta say, it's one of those pop punk bands that, I loved their hits as a kid, and the more I listen to them and go back and listen to their albums, it just gets better and better. So for me, like this wasn't a close call, but I gotta give my props to the Maine. They make good music. So Sum 41, but again, shout out to the Maine. Tom, what do you think?
I need to check out the Maine because honestly, I am not too familiar with them, but I am a huge Sum 41 fan. Love those guys. Love all the albums I listened to, at least back in the day. I haven't heard a lot of their newer stuff, but I saw them like 2 years ago and still just incredible. Big fan.
Kevin, I know you're a big fan. In Too Deep, Fat Lip.
Yeah, no, look, I remember buying all Killer No Thriller.
So good.
I bought that at Circuit City with my allowance money in 2001. So, with that being said, the Maine got screwed here with their seating. I highly suggest anyone who's watching this who have not listened to the Maine who likes pop punk, highly suggest them. As Matthew said, very easy to listen to, very good sound. They should not have been seated at 14 seed. They should have been a much better seating. But yes, Sum 41 is Sum 41, and absolutely Sum 41 advances.
Yeah. Oh, we're not really having a lot of upsets, and yeah, I do feel bad for the Maine. I've actually listened to them more lately than I had back in the 2000s, but I really love their song "Into Your Arms." Came out in 2008. The Right Girl 2010 song is just really catchy. They actually have an album of covers they did in the 2010s. Their cover of "Steal My Sunshine" by Len is fantastic. So check out the Maine, but
Good song.
so we got to go Sum 41. All right. Rounding out this bracket, we got the 7-10 matchup, 7-seat Cartel going against the 10-seat Acceptance.
Yeah. This is another one where the lower seed I'd never really heard of before going into it. But listen to their music. They're from Seattle, and I think it's like very clear that they're from Seattle and that part of the country. Like just so whiny, like, you know, or like semi-suicidal. You know, it reminded me of like Twilight. Like if Twilight was a band, this is it. They're just like whiny. And honestly, like once you're no longer 17 and full of angst, if you don't already love that band, then you're not gonna love them. Sorry, Acceptance, but Cartel wins. I think.
Kevin?
I'll agree with Little Man on here. Don't know much about Cartel, but I know more about Cartel than Acceptance. And the little I listen to of Acceptance for this, you got to be in the right state of mind, the right age, the right mood to get through their album. So not taking away from they're talented, they're musicians, but you got to be in the right state of mind and the right mood to get through their album. So I'm going to agree with Little Man and take Cartel on this.
Tom?
I can't say much here. I'm not. I listen to both. I agree on the decision, but I was not too familiar with these guys. So
Cartel I listened to a lot in late high school going into college. Their 2005 album Chroma had the song Say Anything Else and Honestly. And then they followed that up with the self-titled album that had Lose It, Wasted, and The Fortunate. Then I even listened to their 2009 album Cycles that has Fast Ride and Perfect Mistake. They're just a staple for me. They're from Georgia. I did listen to Acceptance. Actually, my initial thoughts is I was impressed with their sound. I had to listen to them more. I listened to them more today. All their songs kind of started sounding the same. You know, not bad, but Cartel is just a staple for me. They're beating Acceptance all day, every day. And our last matchup, number 2 seed Jimmy Eat World going against the 15 seed Finch.
Yeah, I mean, my bracket is kind of boring here, but I mean, Jimmy Eat World, I just think about, you know, the middle sweetness, and it's just like fun and upbeat. And I go to Finch's YouTube page and I open up the page and he just starts screaming at me. Like, you know what? You're trying to beat Jimmy Eat World. Don't scream. Like, that's it for me. Like, you're no longer pop punk. You're hardcore if you start screaming. So, like, Finch, no. Like, I'm done. Jimmy Eat World. What do you think, Tom?
absolutely agree. It's Jimmy Eat World. Like, who doesn't love Jimmy Eat World? I've got personal connection to this band. Me and a few friends, we snuck into the House of Blue, Chicago, New Year's Eve 2014, I think, and caught Jimmy Eat World. I don't know how we got in, but Jimmy Eat World, man. Easy pick.
We'll have to tell that story outside the podcast.
Yeah.
Will do.
I agree with you guys. Yeah. Not a big fan of being yelled at for 3.5 minutes, especially when it comes to music. So, yeah, Jimmy Eat World in a landslide. Absolutely.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Finch before this podcast, their song "What It Is to Burn," I did enjoy back in the day. Kevin, you may remember this. Danaher played this at his tribute concert for the kids in Honduras on piano, and that kind of ruined it for me. That was the only song I liked of them. I tried listening to other stuff, and it's just so emo and screaming. So no chance for Finch.
From the benefit concert, which was very nice, my old roommate to do that. The only song I really remember was these young studs performed One Direction, What Makes You Beautiful cover. It was fantastic. Sounded great. It was great. I don't remember that, but I'm sure if Danaher did it, he knocked it out of the park. That's a fact. So
it was good. And nothing against if Matt Danaher listens to this, his musical talent. It's so emo, and yeah. I mean, it may have been good when I was 16. It's not good when I'm 28. And I'm older than that now, for the record. So really only one tough matchup. The AFI Academy is. The rest we pretty much pretty one-sided victories in that bracket. Let's move on to our West. We got Tom, breaking down the West, we'll start with our 116. Is there any chance that Homegrown has going against Blink-182? I'm going to say no. Tom, what do you got?
Is there any chance Blink-182 doesn't go all the way and win the entire tournament? I mean, come on. I know you guys. I know your musical tastes. It's Blink-182. Like,
it's going to be a long time before they have a challenger. I'll say that.
I agreed. There's going to be some maybe challengers, but it's fucking Blink.
And you guys have anything to say about Homegrown?
Isn't that a single by the Zach Brown Band?
Oh, no, that's a great song by the Zach Brown Band too.
Yeah.
Homegrown, thanks for coming.
I will say I listened to them. I checked them out. I did like them. They kind of got like a California-ish vibe, a little Sublime-y at times.
Yeah.
Some heavier jams, but it's Blink, you know.
Yeah. They're described as a ska punk band. They kind of got both those sounds going for them. They've been around since '94 from Orange County, California, but no chance against Blink. They're like that little, like Horizon League school that's playing Duke or North Carolina. They're just gonna get blown out.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks exactly. We'll give you some money for participating. Maybe we don't have any money. We have no sponsors. Let's move on to a little more interesting. Not yet. We got our 8-9 seed in this bracket. 8 seed is A Day to Remember going against our 9 seed Coheed and Cambria. Tom, what do you got?
I like both these bands, but I've been a pretty big Coheed fan since college. I really like these guys. Just really kind of got that epicness to them. Claudio, he's got the big hair and killer guitar and a little bit of Led Zeppelin-y, a little bit of just epicness. I'm a big Coheed fan, so Coheed is my pick.
Any disagreement from Matthew?
No, I'll agree with Tom. I like the uniqueness. Coheed and Cambria are very exciting. I think A Day to Remember, decent band, but they a lot of people were doing what they were doing. Coheed is definitely unique, so I picked Coheed as well.
Kevin?
I actually disagree with both of them. I selected A Day to Remember. I like Coheed. I'm just more of a Day to Remember fan. Especially, I know it's the 2000s one, but their later stuff in the 2010s is really strong as well. I'm a Day to Remember guy, so I would have taken A Day to Remember to advance.
Yeah, this was a tough matchup for me. I'm with Coheed. I think the focus of this should be like the 2000 2010 era. Day to Remember has more hits in the later 2010s. I enjoy songs from both bands. I really haven't listened to A Day to Remember or Coheed from cover to cover. We'll talk about A Day to Remember. They were formed in 2003 from Ocala, Florida. Their most popular hit is If It Means a Lot to You from their 2009 album Homesick, which is a slow acoustic song. And then the next most popular song from that album is The Downfall of All of Us, which is actually pretty heavy. They kind of have a mix of like a punk, and then they do slow songs, and they do heavy songs. Personally, I really enjoy the songs from their album City of Ocala. Ocala were called Right Back At It Again. I'm sorry. The album is called Common Courtesy. The song was City of Ocala and Right Back At It Again.
City of Ocala is a great song. For anyone who's ever listened to it, do yourself a favor. Take out the 3 minutes of your life.
Great pop punk song. But Coheed just has a really unique sound. Their guitar is phenomenal. My favorite songs are Welcome Home, The Suffering from the 2005 album, which is really long, Good Apollo, Burning Star 4, Volume 1, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. The other song I know from them well is A Favorite House Atlantic from their 2003 album, And Keeping Secrets of the Silent Earth 3. So they have really long album names. I guess to go with Claudio's really long hair, but their guitar is phenomenal. If I had to pick, I would go with Coheed. But I'm with Kevin. I also like A Day to Remember. I think Coheed takes it. So a little bit of talking there. Let's we got the infamous 5-12 matchup. Are we sensing an upset here, Tom? We got the Used at 5, Hawthorne Heights at 12.
So for me, I mean, Personally, so I went with the Used, and this is more, I guess, just personal experience. I've seen both live. Hawthorne Heights reminds me of like just the early emo days, at least in my experience. Saw him at like one of the first Warped tours I think I ever went to. Ohio is for Lovers, classic. But the Used, I've seen them live, and they're real good. I'm a big fan, so I'm no upset there. I'm picking the Used.
Tom's going with the Used. Do we have any disagreement? I have a feeling we might. Let's start with Matthew.
Yeah, I will disagree. I picked the upset here. I picked Hawthorne Heights. Couple of reasons. One is that the Used was one of those bands that was like, I don't know, kind of blown up and just like shown to me like, oh, this band's so great. Hawthorne Heights, I remember discovering on my own, and they had a couple of good singles that I enjoyed. Also, both of these bands, to me, are sort of more on the emo, depressing side of things, you know? So it's like you got these two bands who are, you know, about to jump off the bridge, and you just pick the one that you like better because they're both kind of sad. So
You're saying you let the Used jump off the bridge, and you save Hawthorne Heights.
Yeah, if I could only save one, I'm just saying, like, they both want to jump off the bridge. That's how I look at their music. Like,
Or do you let them because you like them? I don't know.
that's true. I don't know. I think Hawthorne Heights would have been like me and like outgrown their teenage angst, you know? The Used might be like 40 and still a little angsty.
Kevin, what do we think?
I'm going to agree with Little Man. This is a good matchup. I'm not crazy about either band, but I do like both bands. I would take Hawthorne Heights. Again,
Tom,
Little
we got
more.
our first upset. I thought about this a lot. I listened to both a lot yesterday. I got to go with Hawthorne Heights just because me personally, I listened to a lot more Hawthorne Heights growing up in the era of the 2000s in high school and college. Their first hit was Ohio's for Lovers from their 2004 album, The Silence in Black and White. That album also had Nicky FM. I love those two songs. And then I listened to a lot of their 2006 follow-up album, which was titled If Only You Were Lonely, very emo. That had Saying Sorry, This Is Who We Are, and Pens and Needles. The Used, though, it was tough. I mean, I do enjoy The Used. The Taste of Ink is a fantastic song from their 2002 self-titled album. That album also featured Buried Myself Alive in Blue and Yellow. I mean, it was not an easy decision, but my instinct, my heart told me Hawthorne Heights wins it for me. So we got to overrule you, Tom, but we got to keep advancing.
Honestly, I'm not too upset. I was pretty close on this one. I really like both these bands. Hawthorne Heights. Yeah, I'm not too upset there.
Oh, let's move on to our 4-13, which I think may be a landslide. With our 4 seed is going to be Panic at the Disco going against 13 seed from first to last.
It's, in my opinion, easy, dude. Panic. Brendan Urie. I fucking love Brendan Urie. He's cool as shit. Awesome voice. Incredible voice. And Panic, just so many classic songs. That's an easy one for me. Panic.
Anything to say about from first to last?
Nothing.
Probably the last time we talk about him in this podcast, I imagine. First and last time we're talking about him.
Last. Okay, they're staying at last.
It's a tough matchup for him, so I'll give him that much. It's not an easy matchup, but yeah, Panic in a landslide, in my opinion.
One cool thing I'll say about From First to Last is I was listening to them earlier, and they did a cover of, I don't know if you guys ever played Red Alert growing up as kids. Maybe not. Command and Conquer. Real cool video computer game as a kid, but they did a really cool cover of Hell March, which is one of the songs from that soundtrack. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you have no appreciation for it, but I thought that was pretty cool, but that was really the only cool thing I found about that band. Otherwise, they were pretty meh.
Yeah, they're very emo and whiny. Their most popular album from 2005 was called Dear Diary, My Teen Angst Has a Body Count. Well, now add this to your body count. You're getting defeated in a landslide. Let's move on to Simple Plan and Bayside. Simple Plan, your 6 seed going against 11 seed Bayside. Tom, what you got?
Simple Plan, man. It's like just such a classic pop punk band to me. You know, I mean, I like Bayside. I do like them. You got a little bit of an Alkaline Trio vibe, maybe, but Simple Plan. That's my pick.
Any disagreement from the audience? Anyone want to say something about Bayside?
Zach Morris, Bayside High. Obviously. I was surprised to see Simple Plan as a 6th seed. You can make an argument for them being a much better seed. So tough matchup for Bayside. But no, nothing. I mean, there's nothing. I actually, when I listened to Bayside, it was easy to listen to. Which, not saying I love them, but they were some other bands in this bracket were not so easy to listen to at times. So yeah, but Simple Plan just, I think they're much better than a 6th seed. And if I think I know who's going to win the 3-14, that's a great second round matchup, by the way. Yeah. A little spoiler alert. I'm going to have myself, but Simple Plan.
All right, Matthew.
Yeah, Simple Plan.
All right. Well, before we ride off Bayside for the rest of this podcast, they're from Queens, New York, formed in 2010. Their biggest hits, Devotion and Desire, from their 2005 self-titled album. Another song I enjoy from them is 666 from their 2011 album, Killing Time. They're making lots of albums still, good for them. But yeah, they don't have a chance against Simple Plan in my book either. Yellow Card and the Rocket Summer is going to be our next matchup. Yellow Card coming in at 3, the Rocket Summer at 14. Tom, take it away.
Went with Yellow Card, man. It's just reminds me again, of just high school. And I remember that, Ocean Avenue, that song just made me depressed that I didn't grow up on the West Coast. I used to love that song, and it reminded me of just, man, I wish I grew up near the ocean and, Laguna Beach, all that stuff. But yeah, Yellow Card, that's for me, easy pick.
Shark, here's the good news. With Kristen Calaveri single, now you can play Ocean Avenue as you drive up to see her from Texas, and you can get your Laguna Beach 2020. I mean, shoot your shot, kid.
I've always been Team LC.
I'm glad you didn't grow up near an ocean, because then I wouldn't have known you. So I'm going to say that to be a nice friend. But Yellow Card in a landslide. Ocean Avenue is, in my opinion, like a top 5, top 10 pop punk song of all time. I absolutely love the song. And Yellow Card.
Matthew, any comments?
Rocket Summer blew up. I don't know. Like it's gone.
Rocket Summer, what is impressive? This is a solo project band by a gentleman named Bryce Avery, formed in 1999. He's from Fort Worth, Texas, Tom, so not too far from where you are. He writes and produces every song on his records and plays every instrument in them. His songs kind of have a little bit of a something corporate Jack Mannequins feel, lots of piano. It's okay. Impressive that he does all that. But yeah, Yellow Card. Okay.
Super impressive. I tip my hat to him. That's very impressive.
Now, this is a matchup I'm looking forward to, Tom. We got the number 7 seed, Boys Like Girls, coming in against number 10, Senses Fail. Kind of a clash of styles. Who are we going with?
So for me, again, this is more of a personal choice, I guess, but I've always really, really liked Senses Fail. I remember just first getting into them. I loved the guitar. It was shortly after I started. You and I both started playing guitar. I discovered these guys, and I really enjoyed their kind of heavier sound, the guitar sound, a lot of cool riffs, and I remember seeing them at Warped Tour, at one of the first or second Warped Tours I ever went to. Really, really enjoyed it. So for me, it's more of a personal, I guess, choice, but I'm going with Senses Failed.
Well, the good news is this is all personal. You can pick whatever we want for any reason we want. This is why we're doing this podcast. And by the way, if you are watching this, please hit like and subscribe. Feel free to comment, disagree with us, say we're assholes, whatever you want. Tom's going with Senses Fail. Any disagreement? What up to Matthew? I think you're a Boys Like Girls fans, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so this might be I don't want to say generational because I'm only like 3-4 years younger than you, but this is a little bit of a generational gap. I feel like here, Boys Like Girls, came up at the right time for me, and I listen to music because I mostly wanted to make me happy, and Senses Fail again. If they don't live on the bridge, with the other emo bands, and they get a little bit down the road. They're thinking about the bridge. Boys Like Girls, they had happy pop punk songs, a lot of energy, and that's what I like. So I picked them in this matchup. But again, I respect my elders. So whatever you guys think. But yeah, I'm going with number 7.
Kevin.
Jeremy said it best, clash of styles, and my style for pop punk leans more towards the Boys Like Girls. And that's more my speed. It's more my sound. Senses Fail is different. It's not, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's a good matchup, but I would lean towards Boys Like Girls. I would have them be advancing.
Yeah, this is a tough matchup for me. I like songs from both bands. I'm going to go with Senses Fail, so Tom's bracket, and this is what I decided to even before listening to this. I listened to a lot of Senses Fail in high school with Tom and in college, those early albums. Boys Like Girls, they also have some really good singles. 2 is Better Than 1 featuring Taylor Swift, Love Drunk, and then that was from the 2009 album. And then they had The Great Escape and Thunder before that in 2006. I really enjoy all those songs. They're more upbeat, classic pop punk sound. Senses Fail, definitely more emo. What I will say about Senses Fail though is why they did have a little bit of screaming and definitely an emo component. It wasn't overwhelmingly screamo, which some of these bands that we'll get into were, and I can't really stand that. And their guitar, I agree with Tom, is very good. At the time, I was really into Senses Fail. I guess I was more emo back in high school and college. Maybe not so much now, but this is about the 2000s. In the 2000s, I think Senses Fail beats out Boys Like Girls in my book. So tough matchup, but because it's Tom's bracket, we're going to go with his band, and I'll agree with him. And then to round it out, I think Here's What We Aim For got the 15 seed, which they got kind of slighted, going up against Brand New. Tom, any chance for Here's What We Aim For here in this matchup?
No. They're cool, but I'm a huge Brand New fan. I really like Brand New. Just really cool style, kind of heavy, a little, definitely some more maybe hanging out on the bridge kind of stuff, but big fan, big Brand New fan. Seen them live multiple times. They seem like they always seem like that band that, like, at least back in the day, like, you listen to them if you were like cool, you had to be like cool to listen to them. They were like, you didn't hear about these guys if you weren't
really, because my high school didn't get the memo, because I listened to Brand New and I was not cool at all. So I wish I would have gotten that memo and passed it along. Geneva High School, damn.
No, that's just the vibe I get from that band, but maybe that's just how I perceived it. But anyway, I love Brand New, big fan, easy pick for me.
Looks like Kevin agrees. Matthew?
Yes.
Agree.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Jude Law and A Semester Abroad, just classic for me.
That whole album, so good.
Your favorite Weapon, 2001 album, fantastic. Any other thoughts on Here's What We Aim For?
I'm assuming you have some. I hope.
I got some on everyone. I do like Here's What We Aim For. They were a little bit later into the scene. They came out in 2005 from Buffalo, New York. Their 2006 album, The Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch, featuring The Curse of Curves, Risque, and Sweet Talk 101. Curse of Curves is 34 million listens on Spotify, which is actually better than Senses Fail, Bayside. Definitely more than From First to Last and Rocket Summer. So they were grossly underseeded in this tournament. Got a tough match against Brand New. I also enjoyed some of their songs for the 2008 album Rotation, Practice Makes Perfect, and Doctor. After those 2 albums, they disappeared off the face of the earth. I have no idea what they're doing. But Brand New wins it for me as well. So not much controversy here, but on this side of the bracket, some more bands. I think, at least for our group, a lot of us haven't heard of some of these bands, so it might get a little more interesting here. Kevin, why don't you lead us off with this East seed here? We got a East bracket with the 1-16 matchup with Green Day going against Spitalfield.
So obviously, tough matchup for Spitalfield. I will say this: they're from Chicago, formed in '98. The name came from Spitalfield, England, Matthew, where Jack the Ripper lived. So a little history for you. but they deserve better than a 16 seed. I expect them to be not my cup of tea. I was pleasantly surprised. Really enjoyed the last two albums I listened to, which was Stop Doing Bad Things, which came out in 2005, and Better Than Knowing Where You Are in 2006. The first two albums are okay. First one's like a typical first album, but highly recommend it. For anyone who hasn't listened to them, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, I mean, thanks for coming, but Green Day in a landslide.
Tom and Matthew, ever listen to Spitalfield? Any thoughts?
I mean, Green Day gonna Green Day, obviously, for this one. Spitalfield, I know, is one of those bands that got sent to me as, like, you know, a local Chicago band. I think they played at the Cubby Bear a couple times. Didn't see them, but I heard of them. Tom?
Yeah, I mean, Green Day obviously is going to win this one, but cool story about Spitalfield. And when I was a freshman, I think at Purdue, I was in this like underground concert committee club where we try to like promote concerts. And Spitalfield was one of the few ones that I remember like coming to play. And they're cool. I like them, but it is Green Day. How do it's Green Day.
Yeah, I didn't know that Spitalfield was from Chicago before doing this. The song that I think I've heard of before this was Gold Dust versus the State of Illinois from 2005. I was impressed with them from a 16 seed, but oh man, we got to go with Green Day. All right, now we got our 8-9 matchup. We got Reliant K at 8 going up against number 9 Saves the Day.
Unlike the other 8-9 matchups, this was pretty easy for me. I've always been a big Reliant K fan, high school and college and post-college. Save the Day, a little bit on the whinier side. Got to be in the mood to listen to them. They were formed in '97 from Princeton, New Jersey, and they're still going strong. My research, their last album, the number 9, it was called 9, was released in 2018. But for me, Reliant K, especially 2004's album Reliant K, it was one of my favorite albums when I was in high school and listened to a lot in college as well. So,
Tom, Matthew, heard of Saves the Day? Any thoughts? I don't think we're saving them for this bracket.
Now, again, like, you know, if you're talking about the bridge where people jump off, they're not down the road. They're probably like at the entrance, you know, like at the gate of the bridge. Wasn't really impressed at all. The Reliant K, funny story about Reliant K, I was trying to get with this girl in high school, and she was a super Christian, Jessica Wheaton. And she was like, "Oh, you're into like Blink-182 and Green Day? You should listen to Reliant K. They're great and clean." Did, and I liked them, so I picked them too. But yeah.
Did you get with her?
I Wheaton got with her, which means I made out with her in the backseat of the car. So, I don't know.
Oh, it's a family program. I love it.
Save the Day, very emo, very whiny. Their biggest single is called At Your Funeral. Yeah, no chance. Reliant K.
Yeah.
This is probably my least favorite matchup of the whole bracket. Mine has some bad ones too, but we got the 5-12 matchup. Number 5 is Under Oath. Going to number 12. I don't even know if I had to say their name correctly. Siosin.
Jeremy took the win on my sales. This was tough because of how painful it was. Two bands that probably both deserve to be 15 and 16 seeds. Under Oath is one of the only bands I listened to of all these bands where I had to stop during the first album. If you like getting screamed at, put on Under Oath, because that's all they do. It is hard. It is loud. There's a lot of yelling. It's just not my cup of tea. It's just not my speed. Siosin is not that much better.
Is that how you say it?
It's emo. It's emo, but it's not super whiny, and there's like very little if no screaming. So I have the upset because Under Oath is really just not me. It's just not. If you like being yelled at, knock yourself out. But I literally had to pause and also like my throat started getting dry like laryngitis like by listening to the singer sing. I was in pain listening to him sing. So I had Siosin with an upset. But I mean, yeah, this was a tough matchup, and not in a oh god, it's so hard. It's like oh god,
this is
so
an
hard.
ugly game.
It was ugly.
Low scoring, not a lot of baskets.
Yes, an old like 46 to 42 Big Ten basketball game, like between like Penn State and Rutgers basketball. That's what this is like. And Sileson for me gets the win.
Okay.
This entire matchup made me just think like, out of these two bands, honestly, I would rather, there's like that, first four out. The first four out in this bracket apparently was Marwood Falls. Like, they would win either one of those bands. Like, I would rather have
hands down
Falls than either one of those bands.
And for those of you who have not listened to Marwood Falls out there, give them a try. Very good band. But yes, yes, these two are much worse than Marwood Falls. Absolutely, hands down.
Tom, any thoughts?
I have nothing to contribute here, especially after that just awesome explanation. Yeah, I got nothing here.
The only thing else, Under Oath, their most popular album from 2004, they're only Chasing Safety, it's called. It's kind of I guess with the times, it has a scary looking girl wearing an oxygen mask. So, I don't know. Yeah, just screaming. Silencing, they're very emo, but they're not as whiny and less screaming, so by default they get the win for me. All right, let's move on to some bands that hopefully have a little more listening appeal. Number 4, Paramore, going against number 13, Hello Goodbye.
Well, we say hello, we say goodbye to Hello Goodbye here. I listened to one album which came out in 2000s, which was Zombies, Aliens, Vampires, and Dinosaurs. It's a different sound. It kind of, to me, had a little bit of Owl City to it, like the computer synthesizer type story. So it's different. It's more pop than anything else, not even pop punk. Again, if they were going against Silencing or Under Oath, they would have advanced, but that's not saying much. But yeah, Paramore, I mean, always enjoyed Paramore, Misery Business, love it. So yeah, I'm going to go Paramore in a landslide.
Tyler, Matthew, have anything to say about Hello Goodbye other than goodbye?
Paramore.
I mean, yeah, Paramore is the obvious winner. I think that both of these bands could, make me smile a little bit. I enjoyed a couple of songs for Hello Goodbye. I wouldn't mind listening to them. It doesn't make me think about, living in the village next to the bridge. So I would have picked either of these two bands before the other two. But yeah.
Yeah, Hello Goodbye is very poppy. Like Kevin said, their biggest single, Here in Your Arms, released in 2006, is catchy. That's like something I would really get into. I agree with the Owl City comparison. His voice is an auto-tune component to it in the chorus. It's all right, but Paramore's going to take that one all day, every day. So we'll move on to 6-11. 6 is a band called Midtown, going against number 11, Story of the Year.
So this actually was my toughest matchup. I actually re-listened to my favorite album that I originally listened to of both these bands and made my decision this morning. Even though I will always enjoy Until the Day I Die, my Story of the Year, I went with Midtown here. Midtown has a more traditional pop punk sound. All 3 albums I listened to, Save the World, Lose a Girl, Living Well is the Best Revenge, and Forget What You Know. Pretty easy to listen to, front to back, top to bottom. I like Story of the Year. I feel that maybe they got shafted with their seating, but they're a little more yelling than I prefer, but still a good band. But I actually am going to go with Midtown here. I just prefer the sound. And I didn't know this, but Story of the Year, that's actually their 3rd name. Originally, they're from Shit Lewis. Their first name was 67 North, and they changed to Big Blue Monkey, and then they changed the Story of the Year. So, just wanted a little nugget about their past. But yeah, I go with Midtown here.
I have a feeling we might have some disagreement. Let's throw it out to Tom first.
For me, Story of the Year is the choice. Honestly, I don't know a whole lot of Midtown. I was not familiar with them before, checking them out for this podcast. So for me, it's kind of simple, but I don't have much to say, I guess, about Midtown. So,
Matthew, any thoughts?
Yeah, story of the year is my pick. I think the best thing that Midtown did is that their bassist formed Cobra Starship, which is a pretty good band. I'd probably put Cobra Starship above either of these two. So if they would have replaced Midtown with Cobra Starship, it would have been good. But yeah, story of the year, Anthem of Our Dying Day, Until the Day I Die, just classic, pop punk. Gotta go with them.
Yeah,
Hear me?
I mean, at first I thought Story of the Year was going to win in a landslide. I listened to Midtown, like Kevin. I was kind of impressed. They do have a classic kind of pop punk, even more towards the punk sound. They were formed in '98 in New Jersey by 3 Rutgers students. Their lead singer, Gabe Saporta, went on to start Cobra Starship, and then their guitarist was actually in Census Fail from 2005 to 2009. So they had some early stars before they were really stars. None of their songs were really big radio hits. Their most listened to song on Spotify only has 3 million listens. So at first I was like, how did they get the number 6 seed? But then I did really enjoy listening to them. But I went with Story of the Year just because Page Avenue has so many songs that I really enjoyed. I mean, namely, as we all know, Until the Day I Die, and then Anthem of Our Dying Day, The Hero Will Drown. I do agree with Kevin. I mean, their screaming does get a little old, and they really didn't make anything good, in my opinion, after that. But just because they had those hits that were really part of my music choices and at the time that we're talking about, I went with them. But it was a closer matchup than I thought.
Fair enough. No, there's no, I totally see what you guys are saying. So, but for those who haven't listened to Midtown, I would give them I would give them a shot. I think he'd be pleasantly surprised. So, but yeah, no, it's a tough matchup.
Okay, and now we'll move on to the 3-14, 3 Newfound Glory going against 14.
This wasn't a tough matchup. Spill Canvas, thanks for coming. Newfound Glory is one of my favorite pop punk bands, my favorite bands. There was no chance. Don't really have much to say about Spill the Canvas. The Spill Canvas. I think I have one nugget here. I try to write down something interesting about each band, and they formed. They're from South Dakota. They're from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which I thought was pretty interesting. There's a lot of if you look up these bands in this bracket, there's a lot of East Coast, from New York, Boston. Then you get Chicago's as well. I don't think we'll find another South Dakota band, so kudos to them. The prize Sioux Falls, but yes, Newfound Glory.
I'll say this about the Spill Canvas. Obviously, Newfound Glory is going to win this matchup, but unlike other lower seeds, they actually had a song that I really enjoy that I like. All Over You is in my pop punk rotation and on those playlists. So I've heard of them, and they have one good song, in my opinion. So that's way better than a lot of other bands on this playlist. So a little shout out to them, but yeah, absolutely Newfound Glory.
And I'm pretty sure, Matthew, wasn't your Alarm our song by them for a while when we were growing up?
Could be.
Count when you rewind the story of the two of us. That song
always
in my head at 6 a.m.
Yes. That was probably like Matthew's mix 6. Reminding me about that. I got to listen to that again. Hey, Spill Canvas again. I got to look back at the 14 seeds, but I'm pretty sure they're the number 1 14 seed. If not like the best band within the bottom 4 seeds.
Tom?
I mean, easy. I love Newfound Glory. It's so good. I mean, and I feel like they're still, compared to a lot of these bands, they're still hanging out. They're still relevant. Like the Power of Love cover a couple years ago.
Great.
So good.
So good.
Fucking good. But I
want to talk about them. I have a feeling they're going to make a deep run. Tough matchup for the Spill Canvas. I think we already mentioned their highlights. Let's move on to our 7-10 matchup in this bracket. The 7 seed, Something Corporate, going against 10 seed Thursday. I have a feeling who I'm going to pick.
So for those of you who don't know, I am a unbelievably huge Something Corporate fan. I love Andrew Mann, one of the most talented musicians of our generation. Leaving Through the Window was, one of my favorite albums. Came out when I was 15. Absolutely loved it. I can't tell you how many times I played the song Woke Up in a Car when I was driving my car when I first started driving. Sorry, Thursday. Something Corporate. You got the wrong guy to have, critiquing you against Something Corporate. But They're emo-ish. Formed in New Jersey. Been around since '97. They stopped. I'm sorry. So it was from '97 to 2012 for the band Thursday. Then they did a reunion in 16, but then it ended again in 18. So they tried it, got the band back together, pun intended, but it didn't work out. But yeah, for me, it wasn't even close. Something corporate, absolute landslide.
Yeah, it's not Thursday, it's Friday. Should we just move on? I mean, I was not impressed by them. Their vocals weren't that great. All right. I don't think anyone else has anything to say about Thursday, so we'll go to round out the bracket. The 2:15 matchup is Taking Back Sunday at 2, going up against 15 Armor for Sleep.
Taking Back Sunday. Pretty big difference here in the two bands. Listen to them. There's no screaming, but it's very much dark. I mean, I guess you say emo, but I just got a dark feel when I listen to it. Just a quick note about Armor for Sleep. They're from New Jersey. They formed in 01, disbanded in 09. They got back together in 2012 for only 3 shows, including the House of Blues in 2012. And then in 15, they did an 8-city tour for the 10th anniversary of their second album, which was What to Do When You Are Dead. And then in February this year, they announced that they would do a summer tour for the 15th anniversary of What to Do When You Are Dead. But obviously that did not happen because of the pandemic. But in a landslide, Taking Back Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have nothing more to say. You summed up Armor for Sleep, all I knew about them, very well.
I'll say this. I think Mr. or Miss Schwartz, who made this bracket, their childhood may have had a little bit of trauma, and they may have gotten yelled at, at some point and needed to, rank bands who are talking more about, bridges than others. The rankings tend to, lower bands that are more fun and raise bands who are a little bit more emo. And this is supposed to be pop punk. So just say that.
All right. I want to take us home with the first round here of the Midwest bracket. I reseeded this because it pissed me off. Forever the Sickest Kids, which was originally the 16. And the Movie Life only had their biggest song is Jamestown. Let me pull up my my notes here. Jamestown has, I believe, less than about 1 million listens on Spotify. Yeah, I don't understand how, Forever the Sickest Kids and some of these other bands were put below them. No shot for the Movie Life. What else do I have to say about them? The only interesting thing is that the original guitarist Eddie Reyes ended up going into left that band and started Taking Back Sunday, and then their original bassist went to join Bayside. So I guess they had some early contributors to future good bands, but that's all I could say about them.
I have nothing to say about them. Fall Out Boy.
All right. A little more interesting matchup here. 8-9. 8 is Say Anything going against 9 seed Silverstein. This was tough. My intuition initially, before listening to much of this music, I've heard of more songs from Say Anything than Silverstein. Say Anything had the songs from the 2004 album is a real boy. The songs were Alive with the Glory of Love and Wow, I Can Get Sexual Too. Those are some of my staples in college. Silverstein is more of an emo sound. They get some intermixed screaming. They're kind of similar to Hawthorne Heights and a little early Fall Out Boy. Their biggest singles from their 2005 album called My Heroine and Smile in Your Sleep. They're still making decent music today with a little less screaming, whereas Say Anything kind of fell off the map lately. But because this is concentrating once again in kind of the early 2000s era, I went with Say Anything. You boys have anything to say about Say Anything or Silverstein in this matchup? We'll throw it out to Tom first.
I got nothing. And honestly, I still got the old matchup here, so I went with Motion City Soundtrack, but
We're going to get to them. I think really quickly, just I appreciate your logic more than anything. If there are two bands who are sort of equal in, maybe talent and musical, sort of originality, and one is going to make me smile a little bit more than the other and make me happier, then I'm going to pick that one. I think that's what pop punk's all about. So I think you made the right choice to Say Anything.
And I don't have anything to say.
That's a first. No.
We'll play on words.
5-12. This was the hardest matchup for me in my bracket. I listened to a bunch of these songs from both these bands today trying to decide. Mayday Parade to me is one of these bands that they came out later in the 2000s. And I've listened to some of their singles. I never was that into them. Warrior Strong, I hadn't heard a lot of them. I've heard some of their songs in passing, not realizing who they were. They're more heavy. I ended up going with Mayday Parade. They just have more of a classic pop punk feel, especially that first album in 2007 called A Lesson in Romantics. Their singles were Jamie All Over and Miserable at Best. Jamie All Over is kind of a classic pop punk sound. They're kind of a poor man's early all-time low in my book. And then Miserable at Best is very slow guitar, emo. They also did a really good cover of Somebody I Used to Know. 4 Year Strong has, if I had to pick right now, what I would listen to is probably them because they're more recent songs that came out in 2015 and then their most recent album actually this year. I enjoyed them a lot, actually. They're from Boston. But kind of going back to the logic I used in the last matchup, I ended up going with Mayday Parade just because in this era, I think they would beaten out the early 4 Year Strong, which was not as polished and a little too heavy for me.
Yeah, I mean, pure transparency for all you listeners out there. Jeremy reseeded his bracket, and so I don't know if we have a lot to say about any of the matchups necessarily. We're kind of doing it on the fly.
All right. Let's move on to the 413 then. I guess this is my show. I'm just going to roll with it. We got the Ataris against Alistair. This is a battle of one-hit wonders in my book. The Ataris, Don Henley said it best. I don't think they made any good music that wasn't originally written by him. Their cover of Boys of Summer is fantastic. Obviously, they didn't write it. Alistair, they had a single that I really enjoy, Somewhere on Fullerton. They're from Chicago. But if you take those two hits together, Boys of Summer, cover by Ataris, wins it for me. In This Diary's okay. Either of them really, I think, had long-term success, or I could listen to their album through and through, but given this match with the Ataris. Kevin, I think you saw Ataris live in concert, didn't you, at one point?
I did see the Ataris live in concert. Yeah, a little high for a 4 seed. I'm a big Don Henley fan, so I always enjoy the song Boys of Summer. It's a good cover, but yeah, I would have to agree with you on this. Ataris over Alistair, but yeah, it was, as you said, battle one-hit wonders is probably the best way to describe this matchup.
I'll say this for Alistair really quick. Call back to when Chicago and Lincoln Park was like a rundown punk scene in the 1980s. So yeah, if you know that area now, you might be thinking like, what, Fullerton? It's all nice, but back in the 80s when they're referring to very very active punk scene.
Nice. Yeah, I don't have much, but I've always liked the Ataris. I think they got a good sound, talented group, and Boys of Summer is a really cool cover, but that's about all I got.
Tom, after listening to them, I got to kind of agree with Don Henley and disagree with you. I don't think they were that talented. I mean, their cover is phenomenal. I really don't think he could write songs, though, and obviously they didn't last, so, they're okay, but I think they're a little overrated.
Maybe talented wasn't the right word, but
4 seed is high.
That's really high.
That's way too high.
By the way, before I forget, the fact that this person did not include Lucky Boys in their bracket is just highway robbery.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. I was looking for Lucky Boys to be a top 3 seed, and they're nowhere to be found. So
it flashed my mind to erase someone like The Movie Life and put Lucky Boys in there just for shits and giggles, but, in reality, they probably weren't going to beat out any big names anyways, but it's funny you said that. Another matchup that I'm enjoying because this is a clear upset to me is number 6, Dashboard Confessional, going up against number 11, Forever the Sickest Kids.
Vindicated!
Yeah. Dashboard Confessional was they were the epitome of emo. They were sad. All their songs were slow and teenage angsty girls love them. No, not for me. I never was a fan. I really enjoy Forever the Sickest Kids. They were a little later to the scene. They're actually from Dallas, Texas. They formed in 2006. Their first studio album in 2008 featured their single "Whoa Oh Me vs. Everybody" and "She's a Lady." At the same time, they released one of my favorite pop punk covers of the Men in Black. And then they're still making pretty good music in the later 2000s. Bipolar Baby, I enjoy from their 2011 self-titled album. And then Nikki is probably my favorite song of theirs, and that's from their 2013 album, Jack. So I'm picking Forever the Sickest Kids. Do we have any Dashboard fans in this group? Because I know some people listen to this will probably be big Dashboard fans, but I just am not.
I like Dashboard. I would have picked Dashboard in this matchup. Now, not that I love Dashboard or I don't dislike Forever the Sickest Kids. Just between the two, I would lean towards Dashboard. It'd be a tough matchup. It'd be a very tough matchup. Clash of Sounds, and usually I go with the traditional pop punk, but I like Dashboard, so I would have gone with Dashboard Confessional.
I'm sure Dashboard is a couple of good songs. I know they do, but man, I go on my Facebook and look at all of my these females I went to high school with whose biggest problems with their dad ignored them sometimes, and they all blasted Dashboard Confessional all the time. Just ruined it for everybody else. So, yeah, not a huge fan.
So you're going with Forever the Sickest Kids, Matthew?
Oh, yeah.
Tom?
Yeah, I'll agree. Just because, yeah, I agree.
Tom is our high-hitting contributor here. All right.
Do what I can.
Have our 3 seeds are just super stacked in this bracket, and this region is no exception. Our 3 seed here is all-time low, going against number 14, the Early November. I don't have to say much. It's all-time low. The Early November, I tried listening to them. They're whiny. They have a slower sound. Their biggest single, Ever So Sweet, is acoustic and emo. No shot.
Early November, early exit. Thanks for coming.
I
remember seeing all-time low with you guys.
Yeah, we'll have more. I have a feeling they're also going to make a deep run here.
Yeah.
My number 7-10 matchup. 7 is Motion City Soundtrack going against 10 Matchbook Romance. I ended up going with Motion City Soundtrack. I will say that Matchbox Romance has a single that's super catchy in my opinion, Monsters, from 2006. But they're pretty emo, and overall I couldn't really listen to their albums through and through and enjoy that. I will say, I'm also not really able to listen to Motion City Soundtrack's albums from front to back and, enjoy every single song, but I do enjoy a couple of their singles a lot, especially Everything Is All Right and Let's Get Fucked Up and Die from their 2005 album, Commit This to Memory. Other than those 2 songs, I don't really know much about them. I didn't really enjoy too much of their not so well-known songs, but I went with Motion City Soundtrack.
Agree.
Yeah. I mean, they had a couple of good singles, and Matchbook Romance did not.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot of Motion City Soundtrack, but I've always enjoyed what I've heard. So, agreed.
My last matchup is the All-American Rejects at number 2 going up against the Get Up Kids. To be honest, I'm not sure how the Get Up Kids got into this bracket. Their biggest single has, I think, 3 million listens on Spotify, Holiday. Their vocals are poor. It's not well produced. It's kind of like a bad emo and pop punk sound. They're from Kansas City. I'm not sure what they're doing in this bracket, to be honest with you.
Hey, they get up and go.
What they're doing is losing.
Kind of rough on the right side of this bracket. You guys up for going for the next round, or should we save this for another podcast?
I'm good for saving it since we need to revalue matchups. I think it'd be kind of fun to personally listen to bands head-to-head, back-to-back, and kind of make little notes since I didn't know who was going to advance personally.
I could do some listening, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll call this a day then. We got some exciting matchups ahead. I think some of the first rounders, not too many upsets, a few here and there. Hopefully we all learned something about some bands we didn't know about. It was fun. So stay tuned for the next round.
All right. Like and subscribe, people.
like and subscribe, and please check out our other content as well.